Call the planning zoning meeting to order. Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have to have one oath of office for our new member, right?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman, we do. Mr. Tystad is joining us. Tystad, sorry. Thanks, David. Thanks. What's my last name?
It doesn't matter.
Mr. Tystad, you should have an oath of office there in front of you. If you will go ahead and stand up and read that.
No, he doesn't have it.
I don't think he does.
Do you have it in your packet? Let's see.
I didn't see it, but I haven't gone through my whole packet, but no, I'm sure I don't.
Okay. David's going to print one off for us really quickly then. I am sorry about that. Don't do this very often.
Yeah. Okay. That's not it?
Yeah, the last I got was
I mean, you could read that out loud, but I don't think it's that.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't do much.
No.
David will have one here in just a moment.
Let's lay plans of my.
for a little while there. I thought I was going to be able to have her contract.
Oh, is that right? That's me.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I need to raise my right hand when I do this?
You don't have to.
I, Douglas Tystad, do solemnly swear and/or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas and faithfully discharge my duties with Leavenworth County, so help me God.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now we can do roll call. Marcus Major.
Here.
Jaden Bailey.
Here.
Alan Stork.
Here.
William Gutchalk.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
Doug Tyston.
Here.
Robert Owens is absent. Steve Skeet.
Here.
Wolf Smith.
Here.
And I'm present, Steve Rosenthal, so we have 9 members present. Do I have a motion on last month's minutes?
So moved.
I have a motion approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Steve? A motion on the floor with a second to approve last month's minutes as printed. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Marcus Major.
Abstain.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Abstain.
William Gutchalk.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tyston. I'm going to have you abstain because you weren't here yet. Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 1, 2, 3 abstain. Secretary's report.
Mr. Chairman, we obviously have a new commissioner on board. We're excited to have Commissioner Tystad. I believe we now have a full planning commission, so that is great. We have 2 items on our consent agenda that when you approve the agenda, unless anyone removes any of those items, that will be approved along with it. We have 3 items on our regular agenda, one of which is a subdivision requesting a couple of exceptions. And then we have 3 BZA cases. As most of you are aware, you will adjourn as the Planning Commission. We need 7 of you to stay, and then you will reconvene as the Board of Zoning Appeals. So it looks like 1 of you will be able to, or 2 of you rather, will be able to leave. I'll let you work that out amongst yourselves. I sent out an email about a work session on November 30th at 5:30. David has indicated that that will work for him. This will be some Planning Commission training. My plan is for this to be about an hour or so, and then in a few weeks after that, hopefully before Christmas, but maybe right after Christmas, we'll have another work session, and we will do specific topics. We have several new planning commissioners on board with us, and I think it'd be a really great refresher for those of you, a couple of you who've been around for a while, but then for the new members on board to get up to speed on what some different topics are as a planning commissioner that you need to be aware of. So November 30th, nobody said that that wouldn't work for them. Nobody responded back that it wouldn't work.
It's
So
important we get to these work sessions and get on the same page and make sure we all are familiar with the rules and regulations and what we're supposed to do. So if you can't make it, please let us know and we'll find a date that you can.
yeah,
5:30?
5:30.
5:30 on the 30th.
Yep,
Okay.
5:30 on the 30th.
Here or downstairs?
We'll do it up here.
Up here? Okay. All right.
Okay.
And you'll send out reminders, right?
Yes, I will. So that seems like we have consensus. 5:30, November 30th. You got it. Okay. I don't have anything else then.
Okay. Decorations, anybody have any decorations or anything? Item that you have a conflict of interest in? Now we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion on the agenda? Two items are on the consent agenda and the rest we will hear tonight.
So move.
Second.
And who said second? Not knowing everybody's voice all yet. So many new members, so. We have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, have a roll call vote. Marcus Major,
Yes.
Jaden Bailey,
Yes.
Alan Stork,
Yes.
William Gutschall,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
Doug Tysted,
Yes.
Steve Ski,
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Okay, on to our first item. The Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now hear case number DEV 22-112 and 113, preliminary final plat of Grove subdivision as outlined in the posted agenda. This is not a public hearing item. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. As stated before you is case number DEV 22-112 and 113. This is a request to plat a two-lot subdivision, both a preliminary and final plat. The property is zoned rural residential 2.5. It's located on 246th Street, about 2,100 feet to the north of 256th and Linwood Road. This property is on a local road. There are no buildings on the property. However, there is a pond, which is the reason why an exemption has been requested. The way that the design has been laid out in order to be able to put the two houses with access off of roadway, that pond kind of centered locally within the. Can you pull up the? Thank you. The pond, which is kind of centrally located within lot, comes into conflict with how the light lines could be laid out. Therefore, their rear property lines could not be either parallel or perpendicular to the roadway, hence the need for this exception. The property does meet the rest of the regulations as outlined in the subdivision and zoning regulations, with the exception of the rear property lines. In regards to utilities, we have heard back from all utilities that they can service this property with the two lots. Lot 2 is less than 5 acres, so it will need to have access to Rural Water District 10, which there is a water line that runs on the on the west side of 246th Street. They will need to make proper application to be able to obtain water from there. Emergency management also said that they would prefer a fire hydrant to be located within the subdivision. However, when the Rural Water District did contact us, they confirmed that the water line that is existing there is not large enough to support a fire hydrant. So at this time, that is probably not going to be something that can occur. Otherwise, staff has reviewed this. It's been approved by all various departments, And so staff does recommend approval with the exception of the subdivision. And I believe the applicant or the property owner is here in case you have questions.
Okay, any questions of staff? Well, the applicant does wish to speak, so go ahead, sir.
Actually, I don't have anything specific to say. I just wanted to be up here in case you had questions.
Okay, do you have any questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Quick enough. State your name and address for the record, please.
Matt Groves, 2307 Haversham Drive in Lawrence.
Okay, thank you. Is there any additional information to be presented?
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve case number 22-112 and 113 as recommended by staff and in accordance with the Golden regulations.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEB 22-112 and 113, preliminary and final plat of Grove subdivision as outlined in the staff report. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Marcus Major,
Yes.
Jaden Bailey,
Yes.
Alan Stork,
Yes.
William Gutschall,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
Doug Tysted,
Yes.
Steve Skeet,
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item no earlier than November 23rd, 22 meeting. The commission agenda is posted on the Leavenworth County website and is available for public viewing. Okay, thank you, sir. If I can turn the page. There we go. Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now hear case number DEB 22-131, a rezoning request from R5 to R2.5 zoning district as outlined in the posted agenda. Does require a public hearing. Public comment is limited 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is case DEB 22-131. This is a rezone request for the Harris property located at 21420 203rd Street. They are requesting a rezone of 2.51 acres out of the 34-acre parcel there on 203rd Street. The zoning is currently RR5. They are wishing to rezone to RR2.5. The future land use map designation is residential estate, which is a minimum of 5 acres, which would meet the current zoning. There are no buildings on the proposed rezone area. There is already a home and a couple of existing structures on the property, the larger property, but none in the existing proposed rezoned area. Due to the future land use map designation of the property, staff's recommendation is for denial of this property. I have the other factors listed in the staff report. If you have any questions, I stand open to those questions. The applicant agent is here to also answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions of staff, anyone?
Yeah, I didn't quite get what's the objection to it, the reason for denial?
The future land use map and the comprehensive plan says that it is to remain a residential estate, which is 5 acres minimum for that area. So, in the staff report, there is a screen grab of what the future land use map looks like. And so,
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
But, I mean, it looks like, based on what we're seeing from the map, it looks like, I understand that it's zoned at 5 acres, but you can shape out 2.5 acres out of that?
that's what they're requesting to do.
That's what they're requesting to do.
The surrounding-
floodplain and
Yeah, it's got a lot of floodplains.
They're significant.
R5 zoning, and the comp plan shows it to say R5 zoning.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions of staff? I think we'll have the applicant, we maybe can ask him some questions. I'll continue. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Good evening, Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North Fifth Street. Staff covered it pretty well. The ground does not meet, the rezone does not meet the future comp plan, but it does meet the idea and the concept to take away as little of farm ground as possible, or ground from a farm. The first parcel map really didn't show the overall configuration of the tract because it does have floodplain and it has a larger area that's in the Stranger Creek taxing district, and that's why the parcel map does not expand all the way out to it. But it is the client's desire to build on their family property and the location. This is the ground they want to do it. They've tried to expand it to 5 acres, but it encompassed a driveway that services the other 2 houses on the property, or the accessory dwelling in the house, and that creates conflict within the subdivision regulations to create that, so they wish to proceed with a 2.5 acre zone.
Any questions of the applicant? Anything else to add?
We hope you approve it.
Thank you. We will now hear from individuals present who wish to speak in favor of this request, and remember you're limited to 3 minutes. We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition. Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, from the map, it looks like there's smaller lots. So there's smaller lots than 5 acre lots in that zoning. I mean, from what I'm seeing, it's been surveyed to 2 acres or less all around it. So just for consideration, there is, from what I'm looking at, there is a lot of smaller acreage lots there.
Not a lot of them, though, was there? I mean,
Pull up the map. 1.02 might be.
Yeah, let's pull up the map. I know that there
I think the
is
pictures are
1 or 2, but
the
the
majority of it's bigger tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of it's in
I
the
guess it's just
floodplain.
right up against it, like number 7, number 11.
Well,
And there's 2 residential. There's 2 houses on that already. Is that what you said?
no, there's 1 home already.
Oh, okay.
I should check that.
Just right here.
1 to the north, check the 1 to the directly to the
Because on those pictures, the outlined in blue, the 9
Yeah, I
is
thought
34 acres, correct?
Yeah, the one outlined.
Yeah.
So this property here is actually 5 acres.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to tell unless you.
That's 5 acres.
Okay, all right. I stand corrected. From what I was looking at, I was thinking that the outline blue is the full,
Oh yeah, no, that's the whole property, which yes is
Yeah.
34 acres. So I think you're right. The one across the street, that 1.02, that one I think is 2.5 acres. But other than that, they're all 5 acres.
yeah, I
Right.
thought they were all big when I looked
Yeah.
it up on the map.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Would it be possible for them to remain in the RR5? I know the driveway was an issue, but is there some sort of easement or something that they could manage there and still be able to have multiple residences in the 34 acres?
Without having a plat right in front of me, I hesitate to say anything for sure. But more than likely, yes, there would
Okay.
be a solution that
Okay.
we can come to.
So they're just asking to have the possibility of going to 2.5 acres. There's no plat or preliminary or final plat submitted.
Correct. They have not submitted a plat.
So we were just saying, yes, if your plat and everything is approved, you could do it.
Well, so if the rezoning were to be granted, which that would be against the comprehensive plan, then that would open the door for them to be able to plat, 2.5 acres, and assuming it meets all of the regulations for road frontage and lot size and such, there should be no reason necessarily to deny it, assuming it meets all of the regulations. If it doesn't meet all the regulations, then of course there's reason to deny it. However, I would certainly caution. I mean, staff has recommended denial. This does not match the comprehensive plan. There is substantial floodplain and floodway in this area, which is one of the things we've talked about, wanting to limit development in sensitive areas such as that. So.
And even if we denied it, they could potentially look into still having another residence at RR5. Just it would take a little bit other work.
Why don't we ask Joe? You want to come back up for a minute and tell us? Can you get 2 5-acre tracts out of that?
I don't know if you can get 2. I think you can get another 5-acre tract. It's in an undesirable location, but I think there is a way to get 5 acres there. It just would not be in the area that is suitable for a structure, or as suitable. As for the platting process, it wouldn't be a plat that comes back through. It would be a tract split, and there is a specific description of the ground that is only to be rezoned, so that there is a plan, it should be in your packet, that shows the actual configuration of the ground only to be rezoned. It's not rezoning the whole farm. It's just rezoning the 2.5 acres that they want to build on.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Commissioners?
Just to clarify again on what Jaden asked, they could build on it if it's not rezoned still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
meet the regulations.
Meet the regulations, not being a floodplain and everything. I mean, they'd have the road frontage, the width depth ratio probably be fine. I just don't know about the floodplain and everything like that. But again, when it does meet our comp plan, we pass them. So, the comp plan is what we adopted to follow, so we should follow it.
Right.
Again, I'll entertain a motion or further discussion, either way.
Well, if they can build, then why are they looking at trying to rezone it? That's the part I don't understand.
Right.
What's the whole purpose of rezoning if they meet all the criteria to build multiple houses on the 34 acres?
Well, as he said, it just didn't
Location.
wasn't desirable where they would have to build then on the 5. But again, I'll say that I've said this many a times. Not every property can be split. You can't just do everything. There are floodplains and stuff that eliminate it, and then of course our comp plan is something we really should follow. So.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we deny this request to rezone because it doesn't meet our comp plan. I agree with staff.
Okay.
Second.
And that was William, right?
Mm-hmm.
A motion on the floor with a second to deny case number DEB 22-131. The rezoning request from RR5 to RR2.5. Is there any further discussion? Have a roll call vote. Marcus Major.
So we're voting yes to deny and no.
Deny it.
Yes to deny it. Okay. Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
No.
No? And your reasoning?
Yeah, I think that they're not asking for a final plat or a preliminary, which would, at that point, could be denied. I just think that the opportunity to at least ask for 2.5 acres, we're approving 2.5 acre plots all the time now.
Yeah, but they're in the comp, they meet our comp plan now.
I understand that.
Anyway, William Gutchalk,
Yes.
Jeff Spink,
Yes.
Doug Tyston,
Yes.
Steve Skeet,
Yes.
Bo Smith.
Yes, to deny.
Motion carries 7-1 to deny. The Board of County Commissioners were considered this item no earlier than November 30th, 2022 meeting. The commission agenda is posted on the Leavenworth County website and is available for public viewing. Kansas law allows a petition protesting the decision of the Planning Commission to be filed. That protest petitions must be filed within 14 calendar days of the date of this hearing. Additional information on filing a protest petition can be obtained in the Office of Planning and Zoning. Moving right along, item number 5. Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now consider case number DEV 22-140, special use permit for boat RV car storage as outlined in the posted agenda. Does require a public hearing. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Staff report.
Chairman and Commissioners, this is case number DEV 22-140. This is a request for indoor boat and RV storage for a property located on McLouth Road, K16 Highway 18694. The property currently has an outbuilding on it. Within that outbuilding is living quarters. However, the property is not currently being used as a residence. The applicant, Ms. Larson, inherited this property after her father passed away, and he had used the property to tinker on old cars for quite some time. She believes that it would be an ideal location because of its location on K16 Highway to be used again for indoor storage of boats and RVs. It would not be there would be no outdoor storage. The property would be accessible 24 hours a day for people who were paying to store their boats, RVs, and I believe also cars could also be stored inside the building. It would be secured via a coded lock. There would not be any employees on site. Ms. Larson would come to the site occasionally to check on it and make sure everything was okay. They are not requesting any outdoor storage. They're not requesting any lighting. They are requesting one small sign that would need to meet the sign regulations. The use would not necessarily detrimentally impact the neighborhood. It is located directly across the street from the county quarry. Again, it's on K16 Highway. There would not be any noise, fumes, odors, waste, or anything of that nature being produced. However, it does not match the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan calls for this area to be rural residential in nature. Therefore, staff recommends denial of this. Staff has offered conditions in case the Planning Commission wishes to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners. Ms. Larson is here, I believe, and will answer any questions that you may have, as will I.
Okay. Is that the conditions there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Upon opening, any questions of staff? I'm sorry. Anybody have any questions of staff? Okay, upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. Public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
I'm Diana Larson. I'm the applicant. 105 East 70th Street is my address, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. All right. You have anything to add?
No, I think it's mostly going to be cars, which was already what it was used for before. My dad had over 20 cars stored in there at one time, so be less cars. It'll probably be quieter, actually.
Yeah. How about security? Being there and nobody around?
We'll have some cameras. I need to get some Wi-Fi set up, and then we'll have cameras, and we'll have a coded door entry, and probably maybe some motion lights. I don't know that I want to do an alarm because I live too far away, and I wouldn't be able to just run up there every time somebody set the alarm off.
Yeah, I understand that.
And then obviously whoever will have a contract, whoever stores their property in there has to carry their own insurance for their vehicle or their, boat.
Up there are 9 requirements. Have you seen all of them? They're on the board up there. Have you reviewed?
I don't understand the second one.
The second one, the applicant shall provide a certificate of general liability insurance in the amount of $1 million and shall indicate Leavenworth County as the certificate holder prior to commence of activities on the site. We require that in all special use permits.
I have to have $1 million worth of insurance on the property?
Correct. Liability insurance.
Okay.
And you have to name Leavenworth County as a certificate holder on it. Sure. Protects the county if anybody should get hurt on the property.
Okay, that's fine. I haven't looked into it because I just got this late last week. So I don't have that obviously yet, but I can definitely look into that. The other ones are fine.
You're going to have it before you start. So.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I definitely plan on carrying insurance. I didn't know there was a specific amount that I needed to have for liability.
Right, and also remember you have to name Leavenworth County as a certificate holder. So the county's insured.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yes. You're talking about putting in a facility like this, and you're talking about security equipment, et cetera, like that, cameras, lights, fencing.
I'm sorry, what?
Fencing.
Fencing? No, I mean, the building already exists, so no, I wasn't planning on putting any kind of fence in. That would be quite an expense for what this property or what this business is going to pay out.
So then the combination is going to be on the barn, on the door to the barn only?
Yes, yeah. The middle building where my father lived, no, there won't be any storage in there.
Okay, so just one building, and that building will have a combination lock? Or
yeah,
something?
like the
code,
combo.
okay, coded lock
yeah.
on it, and that will be the only secure lock that will be.
Well, the actual doors that you open, the large doors, they'll have some kind of lock on them as well.
Okay. All right. So they'll all be locked, but to get in, to be able to open the large doors, they'll have to go through a coded lock.
To get into the small door, yes, and then those
the
doors will be
door,
locked
and then
on
they
the
can
inside.
open the larger
Yes.
doors. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Could I? What do you think is the occupancy? How many boats of what style are you thinking about getting in there?
The most it's going to hold is like 14 cars, maybe less if we're talking about large, like an RV or a boat, because you need to be able to drive down the middle to go out one side or the other, large doors, so 14 tops.
And what's the height of the door?
I don't know. It's really tall. I have no idea.
I mean, if we're talking RVs.
Yeah, I mean.
Probably 14 feet.
Okay.
It was a horse barn.
Oh, it's not big enough for them to go in. They can't. They can't get
Yeah.
in.
No RV.
Can't rent a spot.
Yep.
There'll definitely be a size restriction. We're not going to it's only going to be able to, whatever can fit in it, pretty much a normal car space is the size that will be allowed in there. Maybe on a trailer.
Are there any like fire suppression systems in the barn at all?
There's a hose.
So
No, but there wasn't before. I mean, you had over
right,
20
but
cars
if
in there.
when you store motorhomes that have propane and diesel and electric running in them,
Right.
something could happen. And so I just was curious if there was any kind of.
Wasn't that's not a requirement from, oh gosh, I can't think of his name. McGaha? No.
not received.
Extinguishers or anything?
We did not receive comment back
Okay,
regarding
well, I'm surprised that fire extinguishers would be required. I agree with you, Steve.
Or if you had a propane leak, and because it's all enclosed. So.
Yeah.
Most RVs are required to have a fire extinguisher on them. So, I mean, they should have their own fire extinguisher. Obviously, we can have some fire extinguishers on the walls. I mean, that's not a bad idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Right. But I mean, if nobody's there because it's just being stored,
Right.
It's all they're all going to go up. Like,
Yeah, right.
I'm not seeing this as being RV and boat storage, more cars. Like
Well,
more
even-
like classic cars, stuff like that.
Even cars can catch on fire.
Right.
so,
They
you
can
know.
catch on fire
Yeah, so-
anywhere.
Yeah. And we can add that as a requirement.
You know, you
I think.
you
Well,
store your car, you store your stuff there at your own risk. You know what the conditions are, and
Yeah.
kind of laid out to you that
Well, I know, but you're talking about several people could lose their vehicles.
That would be what the insurance is for.
that's what that
Well,
$1
the
million
insurance, and they have their insurance.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I'd rather put out a quick fire than.
Well, and the fire department is literally across the street.
Yeah, but they're
Right.
volunteers. so-
well, but
Oh, they
if,
are?
that's why if there was some sort of like you said, you weren't going to have any alarms, and there's no staff. But if there was a central alarm that notified the fire department that there was smoke in there, and then they would be alerted to that before 14 cars are on fire.
Right.
Yeah, and the fire department probably appreciate that too, so.
Yeah.
Well, I did get a quote on an alarm system. I just haven't made a decision one way or the other because this is still like in the planning stages. Obviously, I didn't want to get very far on this if,
So we approved it.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's just special use. I mean, it's not rezoning or anything, correct?
No,
it's just,
right.
yeah.
Well, it is a rezone because now it's going to be
Yes.
taxed as commercial.
Right.
But it's done by a special use permit and not a permanent rezone.
Right.
And we are still in terms of duration of SUPs. They're indefinite now,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Assuming all conditions continue.
Right. Right.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. We will now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request, and remember, you're limited to 3 minutes. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? Now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I move that Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve this request as stated.
Okay.
So I'm going to read off that number.
We need a better motion than that, just saying approve the request. Didn't mean that.
I move that we approve the request for case number 22-140, indoor storage, Larson.
Okay. And as with this requirements, not adding any other requirements, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion on the floor, the second, to approve case number DEB 22-140, special use permit for boat, RV, and car storage, as outlined in the posted agenda, based on the golden factors presented by the planning staff. Is there any further discussion?
What is it about this that troubles me?
Fire.
I think the thing that concerns me right now is currently owning an RV and running into the issue of trying to find a place to store it. This would be very desirable in my mind. And I know there are other people who have a desire to see something like this. However, I'm kind of seeing this as somebody's trying to feel around at, is it possible? And I wonder if we don't need to let somebody have some additional time to consider all of the aspects of what they want to do with this before we ever start to consider this as a sell.
I agree. Well, and I own a large RV and I sell insurance, and I think that I don't think $1 million is enough for the value of what could be damaged there, or someone could get hurt. Since nobody's going to be there, there's no employees there, so I kind of agree with more time to look at some regulations that need to be added, whether it be a central reporting alarm station or something like that, because that's going to make a difference in the insurance, what that insurance is going to be as well. So,
Yeah, I imagine that would help a lot if you
Yeah.
knew there was an alarm system there. Okay.
Is that something that we direct, or is that something that they're asking for a special use permits to be able to use? And they go through all the criteria to include, I mean, what she laid out was she's not going to go further on alarm systems and costs and stuff unless she can even get a special use permit. So if she gets a special use permit, and we talk about fire protection and alarm stuff, she probably would go forward. You know what I'm saying?
We added to the conditions, then she's got the time to get to it and check out what that would cost and if it is feasible or not. I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't store my property out there with nobody around and that, and you can have alarms but on buildings, but I've known where people came and cut the side of the building off and weighed off with equipment. So all the
There are many places though where they don't have staff on to be constant monitoring. I mean, yeah, we could put all sorts of stipulations in there, but you can also regulate away people's business opportunities.
But this one is also pretty much nothing around it, right? I mean, there's no residents around it, and county shops, nobody's there.
Yeah, there's a
There are
house.
residences.
Several
too.
residences.
The quarry is across the street.
Yeah, quarry's across the street, so there's nobody there regularly, like at evenings or anything.
Sure, and
There's homes on
there
both
are,
sides.
yeah, there are homes on both sides.
Yeah, it's a regular lot with homes on all sides.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but I'm with you. There's just something missing,
Yeah.
I think, on what the requirement there to have that.
We're going to add that to it.
When do you add it?
Well, we either have to do it now or with that.
So you just amend the motion to include adding?
Right.
Well, we could. Marcus and Ellen have to agree to add it. So.
To add looking into it, or to add, because
Well, it's not
looking into it to do it.
Well, not looking into it. It's either a requirement or it's not. So we say looking into it. What does that mean? You call up one place and they say it's $2,000. She says too much, and that's it. Then she can start.
Aren't they required for the current indoor RV storage areas?
I don't think it is.
RV storage, I know of, do have a lot of cameras and storage, and they live on the property. Also, they're there.
Well,
And
so can I
and they
add a
have
couple of
gates and fences.
things, please? So the property, when my dad first bought it, was just the horse barn. And he bought it before he ever lived up there, and he stored his muscle cars in it. Then he had the second building built, which was the shop building, and that's what he lived in. And then he had the third building built, which is a smaller, just empty building. I can't really. I mean, if I sold this property, I mean, who am I going to sell it to? It's not a home. Somebody else is going to be buying it, and what are they going to do with it? They're going to either want to turn it into.
You got great
it's sellable, but
very sellable.
Yeah.
That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and my comments are just because I've sold policies to storage units that have this, and I know what insurance requires to make it. And so, like he said, that was just kind of bothering me that it's just not like that. Because, I mean, if somebody had a car in there and they went in there and pulled it out and hit a boat or an RV that started a chemical leak and nobody goes there for days.
That
and
could happen in any storage unit.
Sure, but a lot of them, when they get insurance, requires that there's cameras and.
Yes, there will be cameras. The only reason why I don't, I'm not saying I'm not getting an alarm. I'm still looking into the alarm. The only reason I'm not 100% sure about the alarm is they did say that it could, that I could. I want to make sure I can manually turn it off from where I'm at instead of having to drive out there or the police show up every time the alarm gets tripped. Obviously, I want some, safety measures, but then there's people who have their property there also have a certain amount of liability too. They will have to carry their own insurance.
Right, and you can have waivers for them to sign as well.
There will definitely be a contract, all of that. I mean, I'm not just going to start handing out keys and
then
collecting checks.
And then once that's advertised that is what is there, I mean, you have to think about people trying to break in.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad had 20 valuable cars up there and nobody ever broke in. And I'm not saying that, and he never carried insurance on the property, which is crazy because.
But he didn't have a sign that said, there's
No.
20 valuable cars stored
Honestly, I don't even know that I'm going to have a sign. I'm just I'm going to see how word of mouth goes first.
Right.
I don't even know that I'm going to have a sign. We'll just see. I may need to do some advertising. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could point something out. Commissioner Skeet, you bring up very valid points for the business owner or possibly the people who keep the cars in that facility were to be granted. That $1 million liability insurance requirement is not for the benefit of Ms. Larson or the benefit of the people who put their cars there.
No.
It's for the benefit of the county.
Right.
And quite frankly, in my mind, it would be if a car were being brought in or out of that property off of K-16 and an accident occurred, somebody would probably name the county. We get named in virtually anything you can imagine.
Right.
And under Kansas Tort Claims Act, which limits our liability to $500,000 per incident, $1 million is more than adequate. So just to point out, that really isn't a calculation designed to protect either the property owner or the people who may use the property. It's to protect the county from any subsidiary claim that may come about.
Right. She'd have to get her own insurance for
Oh,
anything
sure.
else. So
Yeah.
that's just
Right.
insuring the county. That's nothing insuring her building or the other, any loss or damage or liability
Right.
she would have.
And I don't know that because I know Wyandotte and Johnson require 200. I think no, 2. I think it's 2 million. But I didn't. What you said about the tort law, and how much the county can be responsible for, that makes sense. So.
I don't believe she had anything on her narrative stating that she was going to have cameras or anything, was it?
No, she did not, sir.
I
you
followed the
didn't-
directions.
And you
it
didn't
didn't
address the
release.
narrative in your requirements either. Don't you usually do that?
Yes, we have a narrative guide. She, generally speaking, followed the narrative guide. As you know, Commissioner, if you all
On the
went
sorry to interrupt. On the narrative, it says security cameras and motion lights will be installed.
Okay, but it's not addressed in the requirements. Conditions.
So meeting the narrative is the special use permit shall be subject to the written narrative and provided on October 4th, 2022. So she didn't specifically say exactly what sort of security system she's going to have. She didn't. However,
I haven't
yes,
gotten that
it's
far.
mentioned in there. The
Okay.
special use permit requirements require them to follow the narrative.
Okay, so the narrative says they will have.
Mm-hmm.
And why did staff recommend denial again?
The comprehensive plan. doesn't match the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
They recommend denial on every SUP,
That's all
basically.
special use permits. Okay, Beck, we still have a motion on the second on the floor for approval. Any further discussion? We should just change your motion at all?
I don't think we need to, based on what she's got written here.
Okay, as long as the
I mean,
narrative
she's covered everything. She's saying she's going to do all those things.
Okay. All right. No further discussion. I'll have a roll call vote. Marcus Major.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Ellen Stork.
Yes.
William Gutschall.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Teisted.
Yes.
Steve Ski.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item no earlier than November 30th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Kansas law allows a petition protesting decision of the Planning Commission to be filed. That petition must be filed within 14 calendar days of the date of this hearing. Additional information on filing the protest petition can be obtained in the Office of Planning and Zoning. Good luck to you, ma'am, and you need to be here on the 30th at 9 a.m. Same place.
I'm going to sit out.
You're welcome.
People going to leave.
Yeah, we're adjourned from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and
I'm leaving.
you want to leave? Okay.
Need one more volunteer?
We can count on you.
Huh?
We can count on you.
Volunteer?
Yeah.
I'm
You asked.
volunteer.
All right.
You asked for it. I didn't.
Yeah.
Call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Have a roll call. Marcus Major.
Here.
Jaden Bailey.
Here.
Ellen Stork is not here. William Gutschall.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
Doug Teisted.
Here.
Steve Ski.
Here.
Will Smith is not here. And I am here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got the right amount. Leavenworth County Planning. Actually, the board is. I'm on the wrong one.
22-127.
Is it 127?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's not the commission, it's the Board of Zoning Appeals. Yeah. The Leavenworth County Board of Zoning Appeals will now consider case number DEV 22-127, variance request for minimum road frontage as outlined in the posted agenda. It does require a public hearing. Public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Also remember, commissioners, we are the final say in this. It does not go to the Board of County Commissioners. Staff report.
This is case DV 22-127. This is a request for variance from the minimum road frontage requirements. Property is zoned RR5. As a result, the minimum road frontage requirement is 300 feet. They do not have 300 feet on this property, and this is a property that was created in August of this year. After being split off also incorrectly in 2004. The applicants I'll just read through the factors to be considered here. The applicants were provided a procedure to create a buildable lot through the plating process, but chose to pursue this through a variance instead. The strict application of the zoning regulations would not result in an unnecessary hardship upon the property owner. The requested variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare of the community. I think that covers everything. And then granting the variance would not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations. If you have any questions, I stand open, but that is my staff report.
What are we doing?
Okay, it just was done like this year, earlier this year?
They combined, there was two parcels that were, there was one landlocked, if you look in your staff, in your packet, there was a landlocked parcel that had no access to the, to 207th Street, and essentially the skinny north-south piece carried that all the way up to the property to the north of it, and that was...
So the strip, the long strip where it started from the road back, it was already...
No, sorry. This landlocked piece here, you carry that up. So this property line, just carry that up here.
Okay.
And there's about a 20-foot wide parcel, a piece here that was part of that. It was parcel ID 4.02. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
But they combined it in August.
They combined that, and that gave them the part for the road too?
Yes. So they were under the same ownership. They wished to combine it, and so they did.
Okay. How about the track that has 4.05 on it?
That's not part of this request. That was
Not
split
part
off
of
in
this
2008.
request. Is that the same owner or different owner?
Different owner. It was split off in 2004, which created the landlocked parcel to the west and created the situation that we face for this property now, that there is not enough road frontage.
Okay.
So that was not the current applicant's decision. It was the person who sold them the property when they split it in 2000.
But they bought it knowing it, right? Okay. All right.
So the variance we're looking at then is the piece over along 207th Street that adjoins it on the very northeast corner. That does not meet the requirements for frontage for property.
Correct.
Okay, but
300
all
feet.
the other property was landlocked, so if they didn't have that, they couldn't even get on the property. Is that correct?
Right.
That's what I'm understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, they bought two pieces of property.
To be able to get on the
Correct.
one
The
that
rear
was
property,
along with
like
the
Joshua
other
said,
side.
yes, it was
Okay.
landlocked. They purchased the two pieces of property. They combined those two pieces of property to seek a variance. They did have the opportunity to do a cross-access easement subdivision plat. That was an option that they had, and that would have met the zoning regulations. Instead, they decided to pursue a variance.
Right.
Staff did tell them that they would need to combine those two pieces of property because we did not want two variances. So they did go forward with the survey, and they combined them, and they are asking for.
That's why the timeline.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, I understand it.
So, how would you do a cross-section neighborhood variance with two pieces of property? I mean, if you can't even get to it.
Well, they own both pieces of property. A cross-access easement subdivision is a private roadway. So, and if it's only serving two homes, essentially it can be a driveway. And you just have to ensure that both properties have the required amount of road frontage. We've done several of them, Commissioner. But they said that they didn't want two separate parcels. They didn't want two homes. They just wanted the one, and they wanted to build on the rear portion of this.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions, staff, before we continue? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address. Time to begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comments portion of the hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Caitlin Schmalstig.
Jared Schmalstig. We're at 29532 207th Street, Easton, Kansas.
Okay. Have anything to add?
Yeah, we're trying to clean up the front lot and the back lot to combine them because we have two houses. We're just trying to make it. We worked with the staff here. This was the direction we chose to go. They said it would be just a variance, so that's why we're here.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant?
The ultimate goal is just a single home homestead.
Just one house right in the back there.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Remember, you'll be limited to 3 minutes in favor of. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's John Bradford. My address 28571 207th Street. I'm Jared Crample. I lateraled him that property. Okay? That property is a good piece of property. It's Kansas State's been on there, has like 300 species of plants on it and stuff. He works for the EPA and Water Resources. I own a Century Farm. I lateraled it to him to let him build a little house on the back of it if he wants and stuff. And the frontage is short, so I think you ought to pass it for him because it's not going to affect any property around that area or anything adjoining that property. He worked for the EPA and Water Resources, and I've had it for 20 years, and I don't think there's no reason why that you were short 80 feet, I think it is, right around 80 feet. And it's not going to affect any other property around there or anything like that. He's just going to nestle a home most likely in the back part somewhere back there. It'll be in the family from now on because I own one Century Farm. There's 7 generations. When my great-grandson went through there, there's 7 generations walked through that door. So I lateraled it. I could have sold it to him. He's going to keep it in the family. That's why I'm trying to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition. Again, you're limited to 3 minutes, sir. State your name and address.
I'm Joe Tarnowski, 28095 207th Street. And nothing against Mr. and Mrs. Smallstick, but there's 220 foot of frontage there, and it's not enough frontage between the two houses, my dad and the neighboring house. The frontage is on a hillside, so the current driveway entrance to this property is dangerous right now. I know there's a requirement of 350 foot of sight distance from said driveway each direction to avoid traffic accidents, and it does not possess that. It has approximately 100 feet of sight distance looking to the south. And furthermore, it's getting too crowded out there. I mean, we moved out there in the 70s, and there was just 3 homes at that point, and again, nothing against the family, but I really don't want to see a driveway and a home behind my dad's current residence.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hi, I'm Joe Fox. I live at 28287 207th Street. I'm the parcel exactly to the south, right there.
Okay.
We've lived in the county for almost a quarter century now, and my wife and I were both on the Kickapoo Volunteer Fire Department I was on 10 years, she was on 5. And I first rented a house in the Salt Creek Valley when we moved here. And then because I was on the fire department, I get to go in a lot of houses, and I got to see the county, and we really wanted to live rural. And so we bought that parcel right there, that 5 acres, and I actually talked to my neighbor, Mr. Tarnowski, and I said, hey, what's the chance that somebody puts a house right next to me? Because that's very narrow right there between my house and Mr. Tarnowski's house. And he said they can't because it's too narrow. And we have rules in the county that say it has to be so big and so wide for things to happen. And so we bought our house counting on that to preserve I like living in the country. I mean, It's why we lived out there. Also, I think that if a house is built out there, it starts taking away the country feel that we have out there in the county, and it's going to hurt the value of my house if we decide to sell it ever, because it's starting to get crowded. I mean, that's my major opposition to it. It was also my understanding, I guess that's false, that they were going to put the house right between the Tarnowskis and me. To put a house on the backside, that's a big hill, and there's a creek that runs through those woods right there. I don't even know how you're going to get across that, but that's not up to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello, I'm Frank Tarnowski Jr. I live right next door to the property in question. I have nothing against the small sticks. I wish they could find a place to build a house, but not there. The water problem there is kind of atrocious. Whenever we get a rainstorm, all the water off that hill comes sliding down towards my house. And it looks like a swamp out there over on the south end, or the south end of my house, every time we get a good rainstorm. It was fine until they raised the road. And then Mr. Bradford put in a tube up there on top of the hill, right up in that corner up there, to get into access into the farm part of his property there. And ever since that tube was put in, the water coming down through there comes down through there and it's starting to form a creek down through my property. So I'm completely against any kind of a road or any kind of a house or anything being built on that property. Thank you.
Thank you. And what's your address, sir? I know you said
my address, 28353 207th Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir. Actually, one thing. It was brought up regarding an entrance, and yes, you all know that we have entrance spacing requirements. However, there is also a caveat. I think it's important to remember this, that existing properties, and this was an existing property, have to be granted an entrance. You cannot landlock a parcel through your regulations. It is meant to be in the safest place possible. So just clarification that regardless of whether or not a BZA variance is granted on this, we cannot deny access to a property.
Right.
So how are they accessing the property now?
There's an existing
Since there's farmland.
There's an existing driveway off 207.
Sir.
Joe Tarnowski, 28095.
Okay, I'll give you 1 minute.
Okay. The entrance in question, it's fine for farm use. It rarely gets used. You build a house there, you got potentially 4 cars leaving a day when you have children. It's too dangerous. There's not enough sight distance there, and cars are going to collide. We have the 330 foot, if I'm not right. Is it 330 foot that's required of road frontage?
300.
We went to 300?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's 220, so we're far off. So.
Thank you, sir.
And it's on the hillside. If it was in a better spot, it'd be different.
Thank you. Okay, I'll give you 1 more minute since I gave him one. And then it's it.
On the first place, the county, I put a entryway in there. It was approved by the county, okay?
Yeah.
The county raised that road. As far as drainage, that property's never been, the topsoil has never been touched on that property, okay? Nothing's been altered by his house, okay, alongside there. That's been there all that time. He built a house. That house was moved in there way back, and all that is waterway where they have that. That's a natural waterway. The county come back up. The county come and they fixed the road and blacktop. They raised it about 5 feet. Even my road, I live right down the street from there, okay? I live at 28571 207th Street, okay?
Yeah.
That right there, there's not that much water coming off of that, okay? It's not that frontage or that culvert where that water's coming off of. It's that he's in a waterway, and that house was moved in there and built right there. And then when they raised, he always had water there because of the road. But when they raised the road about 5 feet, that put him in a more I don't have that water coming off it. I've never touched the topographical ground of that.
That's fine.
So,
Public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I'll be the bad guy. Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve the case DEV 22-127, Shilmestag, I'm going to mispronounce it, road frontage, as described, as requested in the documents provided in front of us.
I second.
I have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 22-127, variance request for minimum road frontage as outlined in the posted agenda and staff recommendations. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Marcus Major.
Yes.
Caden Bailey.
Yes.
Ellen is not here. William Gottschalk.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
Steve Ski.
Yes.
Did you miss anybody? Did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I miss somebody or?
Mr. Chairman, I think you missed
7.
yourself.
Well, oh, yeah, that's right. It's 6. 6. 7 members present, right? 6 vote. Okay, motion is carried. 6-0. Okay, good luck to you. Leavenworth County Board of Zoning Appeals will now consider case number DEV 22-128, variance request for minimum road frontage. It's outlined in the posted agenda. It does require a public hearing. Public comment limited to 3 minutes per person.
Take a moment, I just look and celebrate.
Staff report.
Commissioners, this is case DEV 128, a similar request for a variance for road frontage requirements. This is located at 23740 D Hoff Road. As you can see from the aerial, this parcel is completely landlocked. It has no access to the road frontage. The applicant is requesting a variance for the required 200 foot of road frontage as it is zoned RR 2.5. This parcel was created by deed prior to 1966. This was not created by the applicant or the current owner. This has been a landlocked single-family parcel for over 40 years. However, there is no home built on it currently. The current property owner wishes to build a home and is requesting the variance as such. The strict application of the zoning regulations would result in the applicant not being able to build a home on the property. The requested variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare of the community. And the parcel was established over 40 years ago. Granting the variance would allow the current owner to build a single-family home on the property. As noted in the staff report, there on the southeast corner of the property, there's a access easement that accesses D Hoff Road, and has also existed for many, many years at this point. That's all I have. The applicant agent is here to answer any questions that you may have, as will I.
So he has a permanent easement for this, right? All right. Any questions of staff? Upon opening a public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Joe Herring, Herring Surveying, 315 North 5th. I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of the staff report that was being read. Did you happen to mention the non-compliant letter? Billable non-compliant. So the property owner has a billable non-compliant letter from the county, so he has a building permit, he's allowed to build. This is the resolution that was passed many years ago to just proceed with these to have a formal action on a tract of ground that is already deemed buildable.
Right. Does everybody understand?
No.
No?
No. So I can't remember the year.
Yeah, in 2017, Commissioner Testa, for some of you others, the Board of County Commissioners passed a resolution that effectively said if you have a letter that was written, perhaps in error, that said that a property was buildable when in fact it was not buildable, prior to this resolution, then you were entitled to get a building permit. However, in conjunction with that building permit, you had to request a variance in case your home or something were to burn down, so that then you would not have to go through the variance process at a very inopportune time to get your variance. So I do not like saying that any sort of variance request is a rubber stamp, because variances should be granted very rarely. However, in this case, we do have a fairly clear county regulation on granting variances for properties such as this.
Right?
I got it.
Got it? Okay. Everybody got it? All right. Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented? The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, Commissioners? Or I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve. Case DEV 22-128 McGuire Road frontage, with all the information that has been stated by staff.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 22-128, variance request for minimum road frontage. It's outlined in the posted agenda. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Marcus Major.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
William Gutchalk.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 6-0. You are approved.
That's a nice piece of
We're down to one. Board of Zoning Appeals will now consider case number DEV 22-130, variance request for minimum parcel size as outlined in the posted agenda. It does require a public hearing, public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Commissioners, before you is a request for a variance, DEV 22-130, from the minimum required acreage for the RR 2.5 zoning district. The property in question, which is 20078 235th Street, might look a little familiar to you. It was recently through this commission and the Board of County Commissioners for rezoning a couple months ago. They requested a rezone from RR5 to RR2.5, which was granted. At the time of rezoning, it was talked about as to the actual size of the property in question. However, no formal surveying took place at that time to make a determination that it is not in fact 5 acres. It is only 4.96 acres in size, which my calculation is correct. That means they would not have the total acreage required to split it into 2.5 acres. Like I said, no surveying took place prior to the rezoning. Staff was relying on the information that was provided to us. When we did recommend approval for this, this is obviously in an area that the comprehensive plan also designated as RR 2.5. So that rezoning took place based off the information we had. Per the applicant's narrative, we've determined obviously now that it's only 4.96 acres, what are the steps that he has to proceed forward. In the narrative, there was mentioned that the adjacent property, based off of how it was described in its deed, i.e. in aliquot parts, that there are extra parts left over within this section. That could mean that this property actually has more land than the legal description that was provided on the deed. However, that would take additional steps on surveying part to figure out where those extra parts happen to end up, whether it belongs to this property or it's someplace else. That being said, even if a new legal description was created, determining where those extra parts are associated to, that would not match the rezoning legal description that went through before this body. So in essence, a part of the property would be RR 2.5, and then there's still a portion of the property that would only be RR 5 at this time. So instead of going through that route, the applicant is requesting a variance from the minimum required acreage so that they can proceed with the platting process. From staff's perspective, we do have concerns. Going through the 5 factors that have to be met, the first and foremost, there appears to be another option that would make 2 properties that would be compliant with the zoning district, i.e. not creating a substandard lot if you guys do approve the variance. There doesn't appear to be any negative effects to the adjacent property owners. The strict application of the provision of the zoning regulations for which a variance was requested will constitute unnecessary hardship. Based off of the narrative provided to the applicant, there is a potential another option. So the unnecessary hardship doesn't quite meet in this regard. The variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience. Staff felt that it did not meet that. And then granting of the variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations. I think it's really clear the general spirit and intent of zoning regulations is that the minimum acreage in our 2.5 zoning district is that the lots will be 2.5 acres. Other properties that don't have the 5 acres face this exact same conundrum, and they aren't allowed to split because they don't have the acreage required to split it. That being said, that's the extent of staff report. The applicant agent is in attendance if you have questions for them, or if you have questions for me, please let me know.
Okay, so they have to plat it, so they're going to have to survey it, and then they will know if it's 5 acres or not, wouldn't they?
They've already done the work. They know it's only 4.96 acres. The question lies in if they do the additional survey work to determine where those extra parts in this section are, how that would equal out, and then you have the discrepancy between legal descriptions of what was rezoned for the RR 2.5 and what's left over that's still zoned RR 5. That makes sense.
And if that was the case, could they do another rezoning of that?
They could.
And just correct everything?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be the best way.
That was my assumption.
Yeah. I don't know why that's just not done, but we can hear it. Any other questions of staff?
Yeah, can you explain that again, that that's the option? Because I thought the way you worded it was, the way it is right now, you could parcel out the 2.5, but you'd be short another 2.5, so you really can't parcel it out.
Right now.
Right? But then you said something about rezoning it to find something else. I didn't understand that.
Okay, so currently the applicant has rezoned their existing property in the legal description that was provided, which
Right.
is 4.96 acres.
Right.
during some survey work, it was determined that there are some extra parts within this section of the county that weren't within that original legal description
Oh.
that could be with this property.
Okay.
You would have to do
so
some
he
more
could go
research.
to 5 or more.
The issue that comes into play is that additional land that could be associated with this property, which it very well could not, we don't know the extent
Or
until
it
that
could
work
or
is
could
done,
not. Okay.
would still be zoned RR5. So they would have to come back and rezone that additional land to RR 2.5 to proceed with a 2-lot subdivision at this property.
All right. Thank you. Now I got it.
got
Sorry,
it?
I got
Everybody
it.
got it?
I got it. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address. Each time you begin to speak, this is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded, and you are limited to 3 minutes per person. Please remember that. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant come forward?
Joe Herring Surveying, 315 North Fifth. To the adequate part of that, there is a shortage in this section. All sections are 640 acres, except they're not always measured out that way. This one actually has a shortage. So to take ground from the other track, and this might have been confused when we were talking, and creates a parcel next to it to have less than 5 acres as well. And that would cause a rezone of the next one, which they would have to participate in a rezone and be willing to rezone their property to go to 2.5 as well. Adequate parts, you can have a shortage or you can have a surplus. This one has a shortage. So it would create an issue that would, have to get the neighbor involved. They would have to be involved anyway to deed over some ground to make it 5 acres. But they would have to participate in a rezone to get their property into compliance if we took property from there. The size that is short, 0.04 of an acreage, is 1,746 square feet. Size of a modest house, 30 by 60 is 1,800 square feet. That's what they're short. We're not talking, nothing against the previous case, 80 foot of road frontage or anything to that nature. We're talking a very small fraction that it is short. And yes, this board has previously approved these, and I know every case is treated independently. This is a very small difference in the zoning. The other solution that was referred to also is the building of an accessory dwelling unit. The concept here is for the daughter to build next to her parents. You can have 2 structures on a property within our county, main dwelling unit and accessory dwelling unit. That is possible, but the hardship that comes into that with anybody who's doing that is obtaining financing to build that second house. You can't to get financing for 2 houses, or when you go to try to sell it later, for those in the real estate world, trying to sell 2 residential structures on a single parcel becomes hard in itself. So, 0.04 tenths of an acre. When it came through as a rezone, we all thought it was 5 acres. When we started the surveying, we realized it was not. Asked for that variance.
I would.
One question for you, Joe. I see you got 2 road frontages, so I'm thinking that you're going to front on different roads, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And that was done during the rezone, I think.
There was discussion.
Right. It has to
following
come
that
off on
decision.
George Road, correct? That was yes.
One of them, right?
Right. Well, the north house already comes off on 235th.
Right. Does it have 200 feet of frontage?
It what's the frontage on that? 353 or 350. It's short of 300.
Not the one on George Road, the other one.
230.
I mean, I know these aren't perfect, but it doesn't look like it's very far.
Which one?
The existing structure? Or
The existing structure. Where does the road stop on this existing structure?
Well, whether that has enough road frontage or not, when the county dead end or redirected 235th Street to the north,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that took that road and.
Well, I don't, but I was wondering, do you need exception for road frontage there?
At that time, maybe we have to address that at plating. I don't I don't know. I don't think we even discussed that. It wasn't.
You're saying when it's split, then there would
I
not
see
be
what you're
enough
saying.
Well, if it's split,
Right,
yeah,
they-
you've got two road frontages now, you split the road frontage on 200 and what is that, 35th?
Yeah.
I think
It doesn't look like it's 200 foot. To me,
I believe when we looked at this, while it is two things, it's a little bit wonky. They're not going to access K16, obviously, because their driveway is already coming off 235th Street. But
Right.
I believe they would technically have 200 feet of road frontage with just K16 highway there if they were to split that. I don't remember specifically. It's been several months ago. We did look at that, though, Mr. Chairman, and that being a potential issue. And
Okay.
Public Works determined that no, they didn't think it was going to be an issue.
Didn't think it'd be an issue, or they could just get a variance. I don't think that would be an issue either, because it's a dead end. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Right, it may be that the road record extended past that driveway. Again, I don't remember specifically.
But they can't have access to K16 there, right?
Well, they already have access off 235th Street. Whether or
Right,
not,
I know, but
right,
you
whether or
can't
not the
count
state,
16 as road frontage.
the state would grant them access, I don't specifically know. I would doubt that they would because they already have access off 235th.
Right, and I know, and they won't ask for it. But I mean, the worst thing is you ask for a variance, right?
I don't, they could come in off of George, right?
The new
Well,
street
one of
will
them,
come off the-
but you're going to have two lots now.
Right.
So
The
yeah,
one will
but
come off the
but
George Road. That would not be an issue, but the other one might not have 200.
Well, it's already there.
235th Street.
That's already there.
But it's already
But
there.
But it's already there. But it's.
But
But now they got plenty of road frontage because they got it on George Road and 235th for one. Now they're going to have two, so they're going to have plenty on George Road for the south lot. The north lot will maybe have enough, but even so, it's a dead end, so it's going to be. But I'm just saying they might have to apply for a variance on that. That would be the worst thing you do that for.
Right. Or ask for an exception during the plating process.
Exception, yeah, something like that. Okay.
Man, they built that thing
Anything
right
else?
on the property line, didn't they?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I would just like to clarify, and Joe, you are the surveyor, so you certainly know better, but in the variance application, it was stated that there are adequate parts, and if those parts were to be surveyed appropriately, that this property would be more than 5 acres, which is why staff put that in our staff
Yes,
report.
if it was adequate, surveyed out, if it was. When surveys are described by adequate parts, the west half of the southwest, or such in that manner, it's treated as is. The intent of that is to be 5 acres and to be treated as 5 acres, whether it's 4.5 or 5.5. The intent is to be treated as 5 acres, and the county historically has treated all adequate parts in that favor. That the intent was to make a 5 acre tract, and that was it.
It just came up short.
It came up short. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Michelle Mowberry. I reside at 20078 235th Street with my parents.
Steve McClendon, 20078, 235th.
Okay, thank you. You have anything to add to the staff report?
We're just requesting that you grant our request for splitting the property. My parents have been on the properties for almost 40 years now. They're getting older. They don't want to sell. They don't want to move. I moved in with them in June to help them out, to keep the property going as much as possible. And it's tight with all the existing homes, so we're requesting the split or the variance so I can build on the George Road side and still be there to able to help them and keep them on the property as long as possible. Property's going to come over to me when they're gone, and I have no intentions of selling. I want to stay there as well. The main reason for this is if we don't split the property, I know we can do an accessory dwelling, but then if, loans and things like that, they have to be on the loan, and, I don't want that burden on them. So that's our reasoning for making this request.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of the applicants? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve case DEV 22-130, variance on the minimum required acreage, as stated and with the information presented from staff.
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second to approve case number DEV 22-130, variance request for minimum parcel size is outlined in the posted agenda and staff report. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. Marcus Major.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
William Gutchalk.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
And Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. It's approved. Anything else tonight?
No, sir.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.